Hello everyone, this is Shiyu and Xinyue's group's presentation for the week's 13 project, The Songs of Canadian Children. In this presentation, we're going to divide the content into two parts, Children folk cultures and Canadian folk songs cultures. Hi again, my name is Xinyue Liu, and today I'm going to talk about children's folk cultures, and I will divide my content into three parts. The first part is about the history and background of children's folk cultures. And I will also talk about the connection between children's folk cultures and folk cultures. It also emphasizes that the main characters of children's folk cultures are children rather than adults. And I will explain the reason why I mention this. In the second part, I will talk about the main influence of new media on children's folk cultures, which will be analyzed according to the means of communication and the experience of the public as children. And I will also present a recent social fact about the impact of new media on children's folk cultures. For the last part, I will share some folklore and traditional songs and give a general summary based on its publications with my experience. The first part is about understanding of children's folk cultures, where children are represented as the main character of children's folk cultures, and children's folk culture are divided into several categories, such as stories, songs, and games, and so on. But at the same time, children's folk cultures are often ignored by the adult world. It is not only because children's folk cultures are as a branch of folk cultures, but also because many people have misunderstandings about the definition of children's folk cultures. Children's folk cultures should be promoted and created by children, not by adults. And what is instilled and created by adults cannot be considered as children's folk cultures unless children accept the new content and then separate and adapt it in their own way. In addition, children's folk culture are strongly influenced by the environment, and the content and the dissemination method may change according to the environment and the location. New media is the one of the new communication methods that affect children's folk cultures, which related to my second part. So, as we all know, children's folk cultures are often transmitted through play, where children separate different children's folk cultures through playing. We often hear or see children playing games or sing songs together, which is a basic way of transmitting children's folk cultures. However, the denominations of children's folk cultures are often limited due to the regional, time, and space. Nowadays, the birth of the new media has helped children's folk cultures to appear in the new and creative way. An example is a type of children anchor. New media provides a platform for children to show themselves and also helps to promote children's folk cultures to a certain extent, making children's folk cultures more accessible and more adapted by society, which also enabling children's folk cultures can be more connected to society and not be the part of this that is easily ignored by adult words. So here, I'm going to show you guys about a recent event about the positive impact of new media on children's folk cultures. On the 21st of the March, 24th of the March, the 59th Bologna Children's Book Fair took place in Sadra, where traditional Emirati and Arab children's folk cultures which can present to visitors from all of the world. Not only was there the presentations on traditional costume, but also Emirati's ladies and girls showed the visitor how traditional handicraft are made and other folk cultures to be shown. We can see nowadays the COVID-19 has reduced many opportunities for children to meet and play with each other. Children should be sit at home and learning things or media friend online, which makes it more difficult to separate children's folk cultures, and the emergence of new media has greatly increased the way that people can learn about children's folk culture. In the third part, I mainly share some folklore and traditional songs for children. Nursery rhymes are one of the main ways of transmitting children's folk cultures, and people often learn about children's folk cultures through them, as they heard as children. So the easily nursery rhymes were usually from England or France. So people used English as the main language to separate those folk cultures, and then they were sung by people also absorbing the local culture and then evolve into new nursery rhymes for people and the country. So here's some examples, like the bridge games, which is called London Bridge, or ring games, the farmer in the dell, and so on. In 1954, Edith and Richards published the folk songs of Canada, which is a collection of simple and easy songs that were easy for people to sing and celebrate, and that which can help to promote folk culture. Among my childhood memories, most of the songs are adapted from foreign countries, such as the most famous one, Little Little Star. I still can hear a lot of adoption for this song, and people make it more creative and easily to remember. Also, there's many kind of language to sing the song. I still cannot forget some games and simply songs taught to me by my friends or classmates instead of my dad or mom, because when I played with my friends, most of the time an experience make me easily to remember those instead of my mom or dad or my teacher told me that you should to remember this. I will make it more kind of the homework that easy to forget. One of the memory is about a story which is called actually it doesn't have any name, but it talks about once upon a time there was a mountain, and in the mountain there was a temple, and in the temple there was an old monk telling stories. And what story he's telling is about once upon a time there was a mountain, and in the mountain there was a temple, and in the temple there was an old monk telling story. Such similar and simple kind of songs that makes me impressions. So this explains why Edith and Richard chose some simple songs to record, because complicated and difficult songs are often not easy to remember and separate. But simple and interesting songs are more likely to be sung by people, which is a good way to help people separate the folklore and traditional songs. And children also have an easy way to remember this kind of culture and songs, can separate those experience and memory on their own way.
Hello, girls. This is Shiyu Zhang. Now it's my turn to go through the following part of the presentations. So for the outline in math section, I will continuously discuss the Canadian folk songs cultures, and I picked up two British Canadian folk songs collection in the reading this week. Sally Go Around the Sun and Lumbering Songs of the Northern Woods. Then I will bridge on to Canadian folk music industry. Then I will introduce the French Canadian children's songs to you as the end of the presentation. So let's get started. In the reading this week, we could see there were many introduction of the Canadian children folk songs collection. And there was a popular one which was called Sally Go Around the Sun. It contains 300 Canadian children's songs, rhymes, and games. So actually, Sally Go Around the Sun is not only famous among Canada, but it's most popular song among the global world. So let's see, how do the children from the other countries perform these songs? And let's see this cute guys.
Sailing around the sun, sailing around the moon, sailing around the chimney top every afternoon. Boom! At 3 o'clock today, it's time to jump up and play. 1, 2, 3! Sailing around the sun, sailing around the moon, sailing around the chimney top every afternoon. Boom! At 3 o'clock today, it's time to jump up and play. 1, 2, 3! Sailing around the sun, sailing around the moon, sailing around the chimney top every afternoon.
Okay, so as we can see, they're pretty lovely, isn't it? I don't know if you have the experiences when you were kids, like maybe in the kindergarten, you play with a couple of peers, walk around, clapping hands, like that. But unfortunately, I didn't. I didn't play this kind of game when I was a kid, so what a pity. That sounds pretty interesting. And as we know, Edith, she was famous in this case because she collected these songs together. She collected many children's songs. As Kirby said, Edith just invited children between the ages of 6 and 9 into her home and asked them to sing songs they use for clapping, while bouncing, and skipping. So like the children were walking around, clapping their hands while they were singing these songs. And as Capito said, between 1959 and 1964, Edith conducted such recording sections in 8 Toronto elementary schools, which means Edith used the same method in 8 Toronto elementary schools in order to record the children's folk songs. So as we can see, the purpose of the children's songs was, as Kirby said, give brief directions for playing the games, indicate sources of the version she used, and list for number of comparative references. After the publication of Sally Go Around the Song, there was another collection called Lumbering Songs of Northern Woods. So the songs grouped in 5 categories. As Kirby said, they were the Shanty Boys at Work, Death in Woods, The Lighter Side, The Shanty Boy and His Girl, and Ellen Boy. So as we can see, these songs were quite historical. And the Canadian folk songs, as we know, was like discussing life, for instance, mining or life in the forest, and so on. Thus, for these historical stories for children, when they were listening to these songs, they could understand, what was happening in that generation in the Northern Woods. And the lyrics are simple, so they could even imagine and be a part of these songs, and they could learn something from it rather than reading the books. Just like Wei said, the lumbering songs give a more vivid impression of what it was like to work in the woods in the late 19th century than you can get by reading about it. Besides, as Kirby said, Edith also mentioned that all 65 songs had been collected by her since 1957, and all of us 3 came from Ontario singers or Quebec singers living just north of Ottawa River. So as we can see, the singers were living in the northern region, so they might be pretty familiar with the history, story in that region, thus they can sing, perform more emotionally. Anyways, thanks to Canadian folk music industry, during 1950s and 1960s, folk music focused on quality, but during 1970s, folk music sought for children. As Posen said, how they led their lives and what they demanded for themselves and what they tried to give to children. So this was the purpose for the Canadian folk children's songs, which was like inform children something, let the children to learn something in this song, and let them understand the history story in the past. And by the way, as Posen said, a musical phenomenon can have a much greater impact in Canada because of the relatively high volume and density of popular media-based culture. So, as we know, Canada is a multicultural country, right? So there were many of children from different nations lived here, and there were many of the folk music from different nations. Thus, the Canadian children might listen the folk music from the other nations and they learn something from it. So this was the pretty interesting things of the Canadian folk music. And as Posen said, the folk music in Canada, the folk music revival in Canada was about society, togetherness in diversity, mosaic, nature, and so on. So the Canadian folk music industry might aim to teach the children like get together because we're living in one land. We're actually one, and no more discrimination, and keep the multiculturalism, the Bye-Bye Commission, and back to land communities. Most importantly, the Canadian folk music industry wanna shape the warm worldview for the Canadian children. But just I said before, the two collections was the British Canadian children's music collection, right? But what about the, for instance, like the French Canadian children? Did they have the folk songs that might be popular among them? The answer is yes. So now I'm glad to share with you the French Canadian children's songs. So the collection was called Children Game Songs of French Canada. So this was the outlook of the collection album. And it was arranged by Madame Jean-Louise Audet, who was an educator. So the collection is containing popular French Canadian songs like repetitions, dances, rhymes, and other calls to actions. There are 3 famous songs that I figured out in this album. One was the rope game song, and one was for the ball bouncing song, and one was the folk dancing song. I didn't know if there are any French speakers in our classes, but I still wanna put the link here. If you are interested in it, just go for it, click it, enjoy, and have fun. I also post the lyrics of English version in this slide so you can take a look. But I'm sorry, I didn't get the English lyrics from this song. I'm sorry about that, but I got a figure from it. So it was like, oh, Jesus. So this was like how children play the games during they singing the songs. So they held up the hand and clapping it. They were standing as a circle. So thinking about it, is it pretty similar to the games for the British Canadian children while they were saying the British Canadian children's songs, right? Thus, all right, I know some of you might be lazy to click the link, so it's okay. Let's listen together. So this song Salad, salad. Remember, it is a skipping rope song. So let's take a listen together.
As-tu d'accord pour danser, Chanel? Oui, oui. Alors, viens danser. Salade, salade, je suis malade d'avoir mangé trop de salade ce soir. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Putain, salade, salade, je suis malade d'avoir mangé. Salade, salade, je suis malade d'avoir mangé trop de salade ce soir. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Une autre, allons vite. Vite, vite. Salade, salade, je suis malade d'avoir mangé trop de salade ce soir. Une autre, on y va encore?
Okay, and the second one is here. Remember,
Starting an online store is easier than you think.
remember
Let me
this
show
is
you
the
how
ad.
to quickly open one with Shop.
Skip it. Remember, this song is a dance song. So let's have a listen.
Mon père et ma mère, leur minaison. Mon père et ma mère, leur minaison. Ont fait la promesse qu'ils me marieront. Ont fait la promesse qu'ils me marieront. Sont les gars de l'autre miné qui ont de la maillette sont dessus, dessous. Yo! Sont les gars de l'autre miné qui ont de la maillette dessous leurs souliers. Yo! S'ils ne me marient, s'en repentiront. S'ils ne me marient, s'en repentiront. Je vendrai mes terres sillon par sillon. Je vendrai mes terres sillon par sillon. Sont les gars de l'autre miné qui ont de la maillette sans dessus, dessous. Yo! Sont les gars de l'autre miné qui ont de la maillette sous leurs souliers. Yo! Et sur la dernière, bâtirai maison. Et sur la dernière, bâtirai maison. Et si le roi passe, nous l'inviterons. Et si le roi passe, nous l'inviterons. Sont les gars de l'homme miné qui ont de la maillette sans dessus, dessous. Yo! Sont les gars de l'homme miné qui ont de la maillette sans leurs souliers. Yo! Mon père et ma mère, l'homme miné ils sont. Mon père et ma mère, l'homme miné ils sont. Ont fait la promesse qu'ils me marieront. Ont fait la promesse qu'ils me marieront. Sont les gars de l'autre miné qui ont de la maillette sans dessus, dessous. Yo! Sont les gars de l'autre miné qui ont de la maillette sous leurs souliers. Yo!
What a nice voice, isn't it? So this is the third one. Remember, this is the ball bouncing sound.
Allô, allô, monsieur, sortez-vous ce soir, monsieur? Non, monsieur. Pourquoi donc, monsieur? Parce que j'ai le rhume, monsieur. Tous ces dents pour voir, monsieur. Allô, allô, monsieur, sortez-vous ce soir, monsieur? Non, monsieur. Pourquoi donc, monsieur? Parce que j'ai le rhume, monsieur. Tous ces dents pour voir, monsieur. Atchoum, 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 atchoum.
Okay, that's it. So, how do you feel about that? For me, I think the record method was almost the same as the recording of British Canadian children's songs, because they're all just let students to play the games, and they recorded the songs while they were playing the games. But there's a interesting question, and I actually didn't get an answer. So, like, why did the recorder why did the collector want to record the children folk songs in this way, like letting the children to play the games and recording everything while they were playing the games, even the songs? So I will post the answer. I will leave the answer to you, and please think about it. Okay, that's all for the entire presentations. So here is the references of all of the slides, all of the presentations. And thanks for listening. Good luck, everyone. We are almost get there. Bye-bye.